All right, joining us now is Rina Shah. She is a geopolitical advisor and strategist and former senior GOP congressional advisor. Rina, thank you for being with us. You've worked on Capitol Hill for a number of years now. What is the process of reporting inappropriate behavior by a member of Congress? I mean, this may sound silly, but is there an HR department? Do you go to a more senior lawmaker who's been there for many, many years and say, this is what's going on? What happens here?
Nice to be with you today. This is obviously a story that makes me sad because Capitol Hill is a place that I've called home for nearly 2 decades. I started in junior roles and around Capitol Hill, then made my way to 2 personal offices of 2 Republican members of the House, to which I ascended to the senior most roles. So I've seen every aspect of Capitol Hill. I still am up there pounding the pavement for my clients and for everything that I care about, which is what most people care about when they come to Capitol Hill, which is doing good for the American people. And there's no silly question when it comes to how Congress deals with the complaints. It's unlike any normal workplace because Congress does not have a straightforward HR department. Staffers are supposed to go through the Office of Congressional Workplace Rights. They're supposed to file a claim within, I believe, some 180 days, and then counseling and mediation. But when the accused is a powerful member, well, too often people are quietly just telling a chief of staff or another maybe senior lawmaker, hoping that someone higher up will actually do something. The power imbalance makes real accountability very rare until the stories that we see now finally break into the open.
You know, after Eric Swalwell stepped down, we heard from a number of people on Capitol Hill and local California politicians who said, oh, everyone knew about him, but nobody said anything. I have to admit, that was shocking for someone on the outside to hear in the wake of the Me Too movement and other social reckoning moments. Why do you think it's taken this long for somebody to come forward and say something?
As someone who has personal knowledge of Eric Swalwell's misdeeds and extramarital endeavors, I can tell you through my network of friends in Washington, D.C., I'd come to learn that he was cheating on his wife, loved a good party. I mean, who doesn't? But the type of partying that included, not being faithful to one's spouse. And so that is what I do believe was a bit of an open secret, that he liked to party and maybe he was a cheater. I want to push back on this narrative that everybody knew that he was maybe an abuser of women, was somebody who would sleep with his staff or get or request sexual favors from his staff, as we now have learned. That was not open common knowledge. It's very important to put that forward because then it makes it seem like people like me would just keep mum about this stuff. Mm-hmm. If I had heard that, I actually believe now that I'm a mother of 3 little ones, that I actually would go to the Capitol Police. Had I heard that he had, done what he did, what's alleged by a woman who was his intern and who was driving him, because I also drove one of my members of Congress. I remember driving him in the morning to media appearances, giving him a ride to Union Station, to the airport. That's a very sacred time and place and relationship. And I feel so fortunate that I worked for a member of Congress that respected that time. But let me answer your question here, because I do think it's important. Number one, this was not a partisan hit job. Democrats did not decide to just take Eric Swalwell out. This was a group of women that connected with one another. Everybody started to figure out this is more than just cheating on your spouse and having a little bit of sexual fun outside your marriage. This is abuse of women. This is a power dynamic that is being abused illegally because of Title VII, which creates a workplace that's hostile. And so I think I want people to know that that's not what happened here. Republicans didn't take him down. Democrats didn't take him down. He took himself down. And what happened was strong women came together, they connected, they started talking, and then they had the strength to come out. So I just want to say, look, Washington runs on fear and favors. Staff depend on these members for their entire careers. I did. References, recommendations, the next job. So yes, rumors about Swalwell circulated for years, but it took multiple women, like I mentioned. This is so important to find that courage. I didn't have that courage. I have numerous friends who didn't have that courage. Those women came together, plus journalists who could corroborate the patterns for it to go public. That's the ugly truth of Capitol Hill. Silence protects the powerful until the dam finally breaks.
So in light of all of what you just said, is there another shoe that's going to drop here? I mean, do you know of any other allegations of sexual misconduct that could come out soon involving another member of Congress?
I am not personally aware. I am aware of general things, maybe extramarital affairs, maybe somebody that has groped somebody. It's kind of stuff unless the woman tells me that she wants to do something about it. I've kind of put in the back of my mind because my first question is whenever somebody who was my junior and reported to me came to me and said, "Hey, this happened. I was touched inappropriately." My first question is, "Do you want to report this? Because if you want to report this, I will have your back." And I think we have created things in and around Washington, D.C. to show women you will be supported if you step forward. I'm really proud of Congresswoman Luna, who on a policy level I don't agree with on everything, but she's been very direct here. She's referred to these very disturbing sexual misconduct allegations against, for example, Senator Ruben Gallego to Senate leadership. And she says a woman with attorneys is preparing to come forward. With Swalwell already out and these criminal probes that are active in New York and LA, I think this feels like the beginning of a broader reckoning, which is needed. It was very needed. The question is not if more shoes will drop, it's how many and how and on which side of the aisle. That's what I feel. That's where I see things at the moment.
Interesting. Speaking of Congresswoman Luna, she posted on X saying 18 million of your taxpayer dollars was used to pay out sexual harassment settlements by the Congressional Slush Fund. So what is this slush fund? And if it's taxpayer dollars that are being used, will we ever know who benefited from these settlements?
I have to tell you first that I have never heard of this slush fund.
Okay.
And I'm somebody that worked at the senior most levels of two Republican personal offices. So when you're senior most staff, you know everything about how that place works. And it is something that I believe would have kind of been known to me that, hey, this is there if something comes about. Never heard about it. Never knew of it. I've done other things around the Hill that are all related to women ascending to leadership. I've never heard of such a thing. And I think that just goes to show, and I hope our audience hears this part, that this is what has been going on for so long. A veil of secrecy, a veil of being unaccountable to anybody, especially the taxpayers. Because we're talking here about personal misdeeds on the taxpayer time and dime. Why are we using taxpayer time and dime to pay out for personal misdeeds? So I think, again, Congresswoman Luna is right to call it what it is. It's again an $18 million slush fund that's taxpayer funded and that is quietly paid out sexual harassment and misconduct settlements for decades with almost zero transparency. And I think Americans deserve to know which members benefited and whose behavior was swept under the rug with our money, because oversight has subpoenaed those records. And so I do believe trash day is coming of sorts. And I hate to laugh about it, but gosh, it's so sad. I don't know what else to do. But because what has happened here is that these members have skirted real accountability with these quiet payoffs. And I think predators in power should never have access to a pension either.
It'll be interesting to see how far this reckoning goes. Rina Shah, thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Thank you.